Breaking news. Welcome to today's headlines. Finally, lawyers drags Buhari, Malami, Okotete to court for violating CBN Act in appointment into Nexim Bank. Finally, lawyers drags Buhari, Malami, Okotete to court for violating CBN Act in appointment into Nexim Bank. To my dear listeners, from wherever you're listening from, please stay tuned as I read today's news. Lawyers for Reform Group, LRG, has taken President Muhammadu Buhari, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, AGF, Abubakar Malami, and the Executive Director of the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexim, Stella Ewuvuogene Okotete, to court for violating the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Act in appointment into Nexim. Lawyers for Reform Group, LRG, has taken President Muhammadu Buhari, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, AGF, Abubakar Malami, and the Executive Director of the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexim, Stella Ewuvuogene Okotete, to court for violating the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Act in appointment into Nexim. In a suit filed before the Federal Capital Territory, FCT High Court marked FHC ABJ CS 2233 between incorporated trustees of a larger global think tank initiative and Okotete as first defendant, Buhari as the second defendant, and Malami as the third defendant. The law firm said it was bringing the case before the court pursuant to Section 6.1.1 of the CBN Circular on revised and assessment criteria for approved person regime for financing institutions 2015. The law firm prayed the court to ask President Buhari if the appointment of Okotete as the executive director of the bank was in line with the CBN Act, stressing the need for the court to declare the appointment as null, void, illegal, and unconstitutional. The suit reads, and should these honorable court answer any of all of these above questions in favor of the plaintiff seeks against the defendant jointly and severally the following reliefs: a declaration that, in view of Section 6.1.1 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Circular on revised assessment criteria for approved persons regime for financial institutions 2015, the first defendant is not qualified to hold the position of Executive Director of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexim Bank. A declaration that, in view of Section 6.1.1 of the Central Bank of Nigeria's Circular on Revised Assessment Criteria for Approved Persons, Regime for Financial Institutions, 2015, the second defendant cannot validly appoint or reappoint the first defendant as Executive Director of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexim Bank. A declaration that the appointment of the first defendant as the Executive Director of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexim Bank, by the second defendant is wrongful, illegal, unconstitutional, null and void. A mandatory order nullifying and rescinding the appointment of the first defendant as the Executive Director of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexim Bank, which was made by the second defendant. A mandatory order compelling and mandating first defendant from vacating office as the Executive Director of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexim Bank, and from refunding to the federal government of Nigeria every entitlement, salary and remuneration received during our entire period in office as Executive Director of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexim Bank. Another of these honorable court disqualifying the first defendant as the Executive Director of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, a perpetual injunction restraining the first defendant, including her privies or agent, from parading herself as the Executive Director of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, and such further or orders as the Honorable Court may deem fit to make in the circumstance. To my dear listeners, from wherever you listen from, please do drop by at the comment section and let's know what your view is all about.